Hello, dear viewer. Very warm welcome to this lesson, Primary 5 class. We are going to page 56 directly. Of course, we are continuing with our workbooks. Remember, we are looking at the government of Uganda. That is our topic. Today, we are going to look at what we call government revenue. Government revenue simply refers to the money for the government, the money that the government is to use. Remember, when we were looking at the duties of the government previously, we say the government has the responsibility to provide its citizens with the social services. However, where does the government get that money from? That money is what we are looking at as government revenue. So, this in simple term, we can say government revenue refers to the money. This refers to the money for the government. Remember the other time when we were introducing this topic, we understood that the word government has that N there, which I don't want you to forget always, this silent N. So that is the simple way of defining government revenue. Now, after looking at that, we are now going to look at the sources of government revenue. I'm so happy that you are following the lesson. We have said government revenue refers to the money for the government. But now we are having a heading. Which are the sources of government revenue? Now, the sources of government revenue, we are looking at the channels through which the government collects or gets its money. Where does the government get this money from? We shall be able to have a small illustration which is going to make us understand what we are talking about. This is, we have the government revenue here. This is now the government revenue. Now, where does the government get this money from? Number one, the government gets this money by taxing people. This is what we call taxation. That is the first. Number two, the government gets this money from selling minerals, selling of minerals. If a mineral is mined, can be sold, the government gets the money. The government can get that money from charging people in court. People in court, when they are given a fine, you find people say he was charged. He was to pay a fine of 2 million shillings. So that is now what we call court fines. That money also goes to be part of the government. We have others. We have the government getting money through what we call tourism. Remember, we say tourism is a source of government revenue, which means it brings money to the government. We are still adding this. We shall have the sale of parastatal bodies, sale of parastatals. These are the government property being sold to individuals. That is what we shall term it under as privatization. The sale of government property to individuals. It also brings another source of government revenue. Then we have sale of agricultural exports. Agricultural exports. Remember when we were looking at Uganda, we say Uganda is an agricultural country, which means Uganda grows crops, and these crops can be exported, and these exports bring the money for the government. Next, we shall have what we call licenses. Licenses. A license is, you find people who do business. For them to operate, the government gives them that permit for them to operate. That go ahead, they have to get the permission from the government authorities, from the government officials. So you'll find that maybe at the town council, maybe you find they can get that license for them to operate, for them to have their business. This money that those people pay to get that license also goes to form government revenue. There are others. The government can get a loan from another country. We have the rich countries in Europe and also outside Europe. Let me say, we have those other rich foreign countries, can be in Europe, can be in Asia. Those are the two corners mainly, which are having those countries, which can give loans to the people, and I mean to the country. So our country, Uganda, can get a loan from a country or from an international organization which gives loans, like we have what we call the IMF, that is the International Monetary Trade. And then we have this money, of course, got, and the government begins using it as part of the revenue. So we shall be able to have the difference between a loan, and we shall also have what we call a grant. I want you to add this to your book. I think they are missing. We are still adding these sources. And then next to this, I wanted to put them together. After grant, we shall also be able to have what we call a donation. Donation. So we are going to, first of all, before we look at the next step about government revenue, let's first understand these three we have written: grant, donation, and loan. I said in your book we are missing this. We are missing these three. I want you to find space and you add them on that page 56. So we have one, a loan. What is a loan? A loan is the help, can be money, can be aid. Of course, that money, that help is what you can call aid. Not AIDS, the disease. I'm talking about aid. And this one is in small letters. AIDS is written with, in capital letters. This is the money given to a country. In this case, it is given to a country and is to be paid back. And is to be paid back with an interest. Which means we are now going to understand what we call interest. In loaning or in loan or in giving loans, you will find that a person receives a loan, that amount of money, then there is some money that this person or country is supposed to add to the amount that he got. For example, you will find that you can even, as an individual, get a loan from another person, maybe from a bank. You will find they can say, or you can get a loan from your friend. Maybe your friend can say, you know what, I'm going to help you with 1,000. I'm going to help you with 1,000 shillings. But when you are giving it back to me after a week, make sure you will give it to me when it is 1,500. You can imagine, someone gave you 1,000, but you have to give back the person when it's 1,500. What has been added? 500 has been added. That 500 becomes what we call the interest. It is always calculated according to the rate. So that is about a loan. It is the money given to a country and the country has to pay it back with that interest. Next is what we call a grant. Grant. The same, we shall say a grant is the money, or we can say is the help or aid given to a country. In this case, we are talking about a country, not an individual. Given to a country to solve a certain problem which can be there and is to be paid back. And is to be paid back without interest. Which means there is something that is a little better here. A loan you pay back with more money added. With a grant, you pay that very money, which means if we were to look at an example to you, someone helped you with 1,000, and when you are to pay back after a week, you are paying back the person that very 1,000. So this is what we call a grant. There is no more money added. You pay what you got. That is a grant. The last term that we added, the last source of government revenue, is what we call a donation. A donation. Now, what is a donation? From the word donate. Donate meaning give it and forget. Give it for free and don't even expect it. Which means we shall now say a donation is the money or is the help or aid given to a country to solve a certain problem and should not be paid back and should not be paid back. I want you to get the difference that we have in the three. The first one is for a loan, that amount you got has to be paid back with some money, that is the interest. With a grant, the amount you took is what you will pay back without anything added. With a donation, the amount you got, no one again asks you for it. In other words, someone gives it to you forever, as just giving, as helping you forever and ever, not again expecting it back. That's why we are saying the money given to a country, and sometimes you'll find this money, of course, there should be a problem that the country is having. So the country needs this money to use. The country needs this money to add on its revenue, to add on its income. Then it can now be used. So that is a donation. It is not paid back. Not even with interest, not even that very amount, no. It is given to another country or another person for free. Just like to bring another example to your level, you will find you can be in class, you are at school, and your friend has not had lunch, has missed lunch, maybe a break, and the person does not have the money. You can say, it's okay, my friend, I'm giving you this 500, go and buy a chindas. Don't even pay it back. So that is, you have donated your money to that person to go and help himself or herself. That is what we call a donation. Now, let's come back to look at taxation. Taxation. Taxation is a system of charging money from the citizens or from people. That is a system of collecting the money in form of a tax. And we shall be able to note that it is the major source of Uganda's revenue. That is what we need to note. Taxation is the major source. In other words, let me make it even bold, such that you will be able to remember that the one which is bold is the major one. Much as others are there, sale of minerals, sale of agricultural exports, we have sale of timber, tourism. Let me add the sale of timber here, because Uganda can have also timber sold. We have forests that provide timber, that timber can be sold. We have sale of parastatal bodies like electricity, and we have tourism, donations, grants, loans. All these other ones help to raise, but the major one is taxation. I believe that has become a very simple thing. So the taxation is done in two ways. Those are what we call types. I have said this is the major source of government revenue. Major source of government revenue. The types of taxes we have two. We shall have what we call direct taxes, and then we shall have indirect tax or taxes. Direct taxes, we are looking at the money which is charged or which is collected directly from the people. For example, we have what we call pay as you earn. That is what we have written as payee. This is the money that the workers pay. They pay according to the amount of money they get. That is how they depend on how much they are to pay. So it is always calculated, and that money is deducted from the salaries of the workers directly, and it goes to form part of the government revenue. We also have what we call property tax. Property tax. Property tax means if one has a property, you are charged. For example, you'll find someone has maybe buildings, houses, and that you are renting, and maybe people are renting, whatever, you're a landlord, you'll find those people pay that property tax. So that money is charged on to them directly. They are charged that money directly, they pay it, and it is what we call a property tax. We have people who are not allowed to pay taxes or who are exempted from paying taxes, the ones who are left. We have the prisoners, those people who are in prison serving their sentences. We have we have the students. Students, of course, those ones are learning. The government assumes there is nowhere they are getting the money to pay. And then we have housewives, elders, and then people living with disabilities. When we talk about people with disabilities, we look at the people like people who are lame, the deaf, the blind, the dumb. All those are the ones we call the disabled people. Then the other type is what we call indirect tax or indirect taxes. Here we are looking at the tax which is paid or which is charged and paid by the final consumer or on goods which are used. You will find that this one, you will find it mainly in three. We have the examples. Number one, we have what we call excise duty. Excise. You need to take serious note of the spelling. Excise duty. Excise duty is the tax which is charged on goods locally made in the country. We say goods locally manufactured. That is what we call excise duty and exports. Goods made locally in the country and exports. Then we have what we call customs duty, which is customs duty. And customs duty is the tax which is charged on goods coming into a country. Goods coming into a country, in first term, we talked about importation and exportation, where we had imports and exports respectively. So when we talk about goods coming into a country, we call those imports. So we can say these are goods, this is the tax charged on imported goods that we are calling imports. The other one was for goods which are made in a country and can be exported as well. Then we have what we call value added tax. The tax which is added to the prices of the goods and services. That is what we call VAT, value added tax, VAT. The tax added on goods and services in a country. So those are the three that we have under that. Now, we have the Uganda Revenue Authority, that is on page 57. And why do we bring the Uganda Revenue Authority here? It is that body in Uganda which is responsible for the collection of these taxes. We have talked about the taxes. Those taxes are collected by the Uganda Revenue Authority. This is what we are going to write in short as URA. You must have heard about URA. So that is about Uganda Revenue Authority. It is the body in Uganda that collects taxes. This is the body in our country, Uganda, responsible for the collection of taxes. These taxes we have talked about, whether direct, indirect, all of them are supposed to be collected by the URA. So we have the duties. What does the URA, what does it do? Number one, to collect taxes from the people. Of course, that is the main duty of the Uganda Revenue Authority. Next is to control smuggling. We shall be able to understand smuggling as the illegal, something which is illegal. Illegal is the opposite of legal, which would be allowed. It is official. You do it, everyone is okay with it. But if it is illegal, it is the opposite, which means it's not allowed, meaning you do it in that skillful way. You are doing it, but if they get you, that will be a criminal offense. That is now what we call, in other words, like theft. So that is what we call smuggling. The illegal importation, or we can say an exportation of goods. This is always done at the borders, where a country borders the other. You will find people conniving, the ones from the other country bring their goods and they sell to this one, then this one's now. Remember, people do that so that they don't pay the money. They sell their goods to the other country, or they buy goods from the other country illegally without going through the legal procedures, whereby they would be charged some money for them to operate like that. So why do people do smuggling? Is that they want to dodge paying the tax to the government, and we shall be looking at the dangers of smuggling. One, you will find that those people might end up bringing things which are dangerous, which are expired, things which are harmful to us. Because remember, when these things are supposed to be checked, you'll find they are checked and assessed by the government, whether they are fit for consumption, whether they are good to be used by the people. If they are not good, they will not be allowed. But now these are people who are doing their things without the government approving those goods, and at the end, they will begin taking things which are dangerous. So smuggling is a very dangerous practice because of that. Then secondly, smuggling makes the government not to collect that money that they would get from the people, because these people now do it illegally without the government's notice. So at the end of it all, you will find that smuggling makes the government not to collect its revenue. Then we have another role played by the URA, that is to assess taxpayers, and also to give what we call sensitization or education, educating taxpayers on the importance of paying their taxes, such that people will continue paying instead of defaulting, instead of stopping to pay. Problems facing the URA when it's collecting. Number one, we have talked about people who smuggle, making it not to collect that money. Number two, we have corrupt government officials. Sometimes you'll find that the people who are working with the URA, because it deals with money, you find people collect the money and they divert it to their own, or for their own benefits. So it makes the government to realize the loss. That's what we call corruption. And then three, there is what we call tax defaulting and evasion, meaning that some people are dodgy paying money. Some people even are just negative, they don't want to pay the money. So when people refuse to pay the money, you'll find that it makes the government, of course, not to get its revenue. So that is what happens. Therefore, what are the solutions facing the collection of this money? One is by employing faithful people, officials, to work with that URA, in that the other ones who will be found corrupt can be dismissed, they can be sacked by the government, and some of them being put into prison, such that they are answerable for their acts. And then also educating people on the importance of paying these taxes, such that they will be able to raise the money for the government. And then improving on the methods of collecting taxes. So that is what we have. On page 58, we are having the solutions to smuggling, that we have said it makes the government not to get its revenue. Number one, we are saying by arresting and jailing those people who will be found carrying out that smuggling exercise or that illegal importation and exportation. When they are caught, they should be jailed. Number two is by imposing fair taxes, because sometimes these people dodge to pay that money because the government charges them a lot of money. So sometimes the government can charge at least fair taxes to them, such that when they pay, at least they will not feel a lot of burden. Then enforcing strict laws against smuggling. And of course, we have the body under Uganda Revenue Authority, which is responsible for controlling or fighting against smuggling. That is the Special Revenue Protection Service. In your abbreviation, you are given as SPRS. You make it, that one is not right. It is supposed to be SRPS. Special Revenue Protection Service. So this is the abbreviation that we are supposed to have in bracket. So after the government getting this money, of course we should be able to look at this money will be collected, and then now after collecting this money like this money now will be budgeted for, which means the government will now sit. We have those government officials who are in that line. They will now sit and they will now budget to allocate this money on how it is supposed to be spent. That is what we are going to look at as budgeting. That we shall talk about it in our next lesson. For now, I want to thank you for your attention and hope to meet you next time when we are discussing about budgeting. Thank you. May God bless you.